Welcome back. My name's Anthony Morrissey, CEO and founder of AMSC, Sports Consultancy, and I'm here to have another chat about three stories in the sporting news that I think might interest you, and also my take on what they can do and how we can learn from them and how we can get to go forward. So, as I said, hope all is good with everybody. Hope you're keeping well. It's now the middle of February, so hope everyone is doing well. Their sporting events are going well, and everyone's getting ready for whatever part of the weekend that'll bring it to them. So, here's the three topics that I have from this week. So it's the Super Bowl, looking at what the Super Bowl reaction was. We're going to also do a little bit of a conversation around the League of Ireland because it kicks off tonight in all around of the whole country of Ireland. And the last one, again, is an Irish connection, but it's Daniel Wiffin's importance to Irish sport. I don't know if you need to know, but he just recently won the World Championships in 800 meters freestyle swimming. And we're going to have a conversation about that. So let's start off where we can. So the first one, let's look at the Super Bowl reaction. So so many people would have watched the Super Bowl over the weekend. It's growing in popularity right across the world, not just in America. But there's some interesting tidbits that I've picked out from it, from some of the conversations that I'd seen around the game. So the game itself, Kansas City Chiefs win, Sanford beat the San Francisco 49ers in overtime. Cracking game, cracking fourth quarter. And Patrick Mahomes goes and does it again. And yeah, I won't go into the sad news and sad occasion that happened on the parade home. That's for a different conversation, probably different podcast altogether. Instead, what I'm going to look at is the kind of sponsorship element and the commercialization element to it. A really interesting conversation with someone on LinkedIn recently around this, where they were saying how amazing it was that the NFL doesn't get jersey sponsors. So you'll see behind me this side. There we go. The sponsors of Munster Rugby with a Bank of Ireland, for example, and every single club in Europe will have a sponsor and some multiple sponsors across. Well, the NFL doesn't do that because they see it as tradition. There's a little bit more to it than that, and there's a financial element to it. The NFL is a cash-rich organization. They're in the year two of a $110 billion deal with the TV rights with companies there. So money isn't an issue necessarily within the NFL, and they're growing internationally, and they're looking at different elements that will be. So that's the reason sometimes why they do it. The other thing with the NFL is the Super Bowl is such a massive, massive part of what they do, and a cash cow in a lot of ways. So it's approximately worth between 300 and 1.3 billion, just the game itself, to the NFL. And the NFL get the majority of that money. But what it actually is, and it's been looked at with different elements to this, but there's I think it was the New York Times I read, where it's overly worth 17.3 billion to America, the Super Bowl. What do I mean by that? Well, everything from people around America buying snacks, going to watch it in house parties, going to bars and restaurants. Like there was like 200 million people that were polled in America. We're basically saying we're going to watch the Super Bowl in some way, shape, or form. Some are tiny little fans, some are going right up to the very top. So any sponsorship connections to the NFL is massively worth something. And that 17.3 billion needs to be taken into consideration when you think about every other sport that comes to it. The Super Bowl itself in Las Vegas, they were saying around 150,000 people visited the city more. Now I know it's Vegas, but there's still 150,000 people going that wouldn't potentially have gone there before. And what that really sets to it is it shows the importance that the American marketplace see around the event. So the event is almost as important as the game. So when you watch a game in the Super Bowl in America, the TV adverts are as important for quite a lot of people as the actual game itself. So what can we look at that in our smaller context? Well, what you need to take from the Super Bowl, no matter what size or club or federation you are, is you've got to sometimes look outside of just the game. What does the venue look like? What does our facilities look like? What are we actually going to be able to present that makes somebody consistently come back, irrespective of the performance on the field? Because remember, when it comes to sport, you can control a hell of a lot of things pre-match. You can't control what happens once the game kicks off. That's only in the powers of the people on the pitch, and that includes referees and coaches and everyone connected into that. So from a commercial perspective, you got to make sure that your event around it feels good, whether that's connected to how you walk in, where there's good places to eat, where there's good places to drink, where you can watch the game if you're not able to get there. How do you interact on social media? How long do you do it for? How many times do you do it for? What's the information feed that these people can get so that they don't get just a small amount? The Super Bowl is the behemoth of behemoth, obviously, but you can just take little tidbits that you can take out of that. So the second story that I'm finding interesting is the League of Ireland's kicking off tonight. Oh, I'm a massive League of Ireland fan. I was brought to Cork City games when I was a young child in Flower Lodge, and it's now called Park Urin, and into Turner's Cross. And so I remember the joy of going there and going seeing live sport. And I recommend anyone that is in Ireland, if you're a sports fan, to please try and get along to stadiums all around the country to watch your local teams, because they need it and they need that support. What's really interesting is that seems to have worked. In 2019, there was 375,000 people came through the gates across all the League of Ireland stadiums, and now that's gone up last year to 596,000. So they're seeing that growth and they're seeing that move forward, that push towards more people getting through the turnstiles. So there's obviously interest in the League of Ireland. There's a lot of dedication to the League of Ireland. You look at clubs in Dublin, especially like Shamrock Rovers and Tallow at a stadium of 10,000, and Bohemians, who are looking to grow to a bigger stadium, but at the moment still average out 4,000 people through the turnstiles on average for each one of their games. And then you see success stories like what happens in Derry City and Dundalk. And you see then the growth of the game outside of Dublin, where finally you see Galway United and Waterford United returning to the top flight. Shows exactly what the opportunities that are there from a branding perspective for the League of Ireland. But why isn't it being that successful? You've still got the likes of Damien Duff, who's now manager of Shelburne, one of the biggest clubs in the League of Ireland. And then you see all these different growth stands that they could bring with it, but it's the facilities that constantly let them down. It goes back to what I said about the Super Bowl. When you turn it to a League of Ireland stadium, you need and want to get that facilities to the top standard. Yeah, you might get it with Rovers. Yes, you might get it with Bohemians. But if you look at some of the other clubs, that's where they need to grow. And that's a part of help they need to get from the government. So, for example, what do I mean by that? Well, there was an Irish Times article written last week by Gavin Cumiskey, which pointed out some really, really stark and interesting facts around the League of Ireland granting. The governments have given, on average, 100k to each League of Ireland club to change their facilities. Compare that to 208,000 that was given to every single GAA club and the professional rugby teams. That's got to change. We've got to start changing the mindset of what it looks like. All with the success of the women's soccer team in Ireland and their success that they've done, but a lot of those players are going to be exported across the continents. So whether that's going into the UK or going into Europe or going off to America in the case of a couple of players, we need to have the facilities in place that allow these players to continue to grow. So where does that come in from a sponsor perspective? How can a sponsor get involved? Well, first things first, it's actually cheaper to get involved with a League of Ireland club than it would be with any other sport around. There's a lot of opportunities that you can do in comparison to a professional rugby team versus, let's say, your local League of Ireland side. Now, the offset of that is, do you get the same connection and value? Well, that depends. It depends on how valuable your sponsorship is with both sectors. If you're at the bottom tier of a Leinster, Ulster, Munster, Connacht, do you get the same value as you would be if you're at the top tier of a League of Ireland? Probably not. Do you want it as a CSR project to make your local people in the area proud of that you're connected and their company's connected with their local team? Probably. There's a lot of those conversations you've got to start thinking about. So it's not just a case of, well, no one watches the League of Ireland. I've just proved to you that that's actually changing and the growth is there to see. You've got League of Ireland TV. There's League of Ireland clubs are starting to get towards into our European honours. That's what we want to start getting towards. Those are the conversations you want to start thinking about. And you can start coming up with little quirky ideas to help the club, not just with the facilities that they have, but to try and improve those facilities. So what do I mean by that? If you're a refuse company, try and see if you can work with your local football club that allows you to put the refuse bins in a place that's visual and seen and connected into the club. Some smart activation pieces around some of the players acting on in your waste disposal bins, for example, as a starter point of where you're looking at. And that can go right across any industry, because that's where you'll need to start to see your little growth and what it is. The one worry for the League of Ireland is if you look at two of the major cities in the country, Cork and Limerick, Cork City and Trinity United are both in the first division. Both have not really seen success in quite some time. And what the League of Ireland does need is a strong participation across the whole island. So having likes of Derry and Dundalk is fantastic, but they need to get the likes of Finn Harps and Donegal. They need to get Cork City, obviously, and Trinity United, all three of those clubs back into the Premier League as quickly as they possibly can, because that's where the growth will come from. It shouldn't just be a Dublin league as per se. But there is opportunities there. Make sure you have a look. Go and have a chat to some of your local clubs. See what they have to say. The last one is one that I must admit was off my radar, and that's something I had noticed. I didn't know Daniel Wiffin was before the last month. Pretty shocking of me to say that, but it's the truth. He's now gone on to be Ireland's first ever World Aquatics World Champion in the 800 meters freestyle in Doha. He's 22 years old. The record is, or what he says, that it's not actually 800 is his favorite, it's 1500 meters. And with the Olympics coming on, this is absolutely manna from heaven for Swim Ireland, because the story is there already. He represents Ireland while still working at Loughborough University in the UK, and he swims with his with his twin brother, and they're both dreams of getting onto the podium for Ireland in the Olympics. With the Paris Olympics coming around the corner, it's really important for Swim Ireland to see this as an opportunity they can take off. So it's another example of a federation very similar to Rowing Ireland, who are seeing success in what they've been doing and their achievements, and now how do they maximize that? How do they financially get the best return on investment for sponsorships? How do they get the best return on activation pieces that they can use, whether that's through gala events, whether that's through patronage programs? All those things are conversations that I would more than happy to have with the likes of Swim Ireland, to see how they can grow and make evaluation of it. Because the obvious danger is to try and throw loads of money at sponsors and say this is what you're going to do, but it's got to match what you as a federation want to do. It's got to match the future. So you shouldn't just be talking about the fantastic work that Daniel Wiffin is doing. You should actually be talking about where's the next Daniel Wiffin coming from, and your money can be connected into that. That's the long-term longevity of this. And look, I would be delighted if Daniel was able to go on along with his brother and potentially do something magical in the Olympics coming up. The more Olympic gold, the more Olympic medals that Ireland have, the better it is for the whole of Irish sport. And I think that's really important to note. Okay, that's my 3 stories. That's the 3 conversations I'm going to have. Type at the bottom if you disagree with me or have any questions you have. If you think you want to hear me talking about any other subjects, make sure you do. If you want to check out my website, it's www.amsc.se. On it, you can see all the details if you want to get in touch with me. How do you think I might be able to help your club, your federation, or anything connected with your charity or sport to try and help you guys grow? Delighted to have you on. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the sport that comes along, that grows with it, and make sure you get out to see live sport. It's always important to get as many live sport conversations as you possibly can. In the meantime, I'll let music kick me in and look after yourself. Have a great weekend.